Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. And in this video, we're going to go over the last two games, which have been April 25th and April 26th of the NHL playoff games. There's only a few games in those days, so we figured it'd be easier to make it all into one video. So we're going to go over the 5 games that were over in that time span. We've got some pretty good games. Some series now are on the brink of being completed by some teams. Some teams that we probably didn't expect as well. So we're going to have all of that in this video. But before we get into it, if you want to see more from us, make sure to subscribe because we're going to be posting all kinds of content throughout the playoffs and afterwards as well. And it's going to be very exciting because it's a very good time of year right now for the NHL. So without any further ado, we're going to go into our first game, which was the April 25th, and it was the Islanders versus the Hurricanes. Now, this game, the Islanders won 3-2, but the Hurricanes still take a 3-2 series, or still have a 3-2 series lead. But the Islanders played a great game. They very good defensive game as well. I mean, I think they blocked like 22 shots, which is absolutely like a crucial part of their win against the Hurricanes, who are a very good offensive team. But as well, same thing with Sorokin. He played an insane game. He had 34 saves on 36 shots, and that pretty much is the reason that the Islanders did win this game. And if they want a chance of winning the series, that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to play a great defensive game, which they have been pretty much all series, but the Hurricanes' offense is just a lot to handle. So you got to understand they're not going to be playing as good as they will be playing as good as they can, but they won't be getting that result every game. But if they do, like they did that game, Sorokin on top of the game, the defense on the game, and the offense playing well, I think they have a chance to take this series against the very banged-up Hurricanes. What do you guys think?
Yeah, somehow the Islanders managed to stay alive in this one. I thought that they were the better team. Like you said, the goaltending was phenomenal from Sorokin. But, they capitalized on a lot of the Hurricanes' mistakes. I think it was Brock Nelson. Martin Necas turned it over to Brock Nelson, and then he potted one, which in the playoffs, you never want that. But I also thought I said the Islanders, this was their best game of their series. They just never let up, and they just dominated in every aspect.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really like the play from Igor Shesterkin. I think he's making a case to be the best goalie in New York. I mean, a lot of Rangers fans might disagree with that, but he is a phenomenal goalie, and he showed again last night why the Islanders have a chance in this series. It's because of him.
Yeah, I think you meant Ilya Sorokin as well, but it's very understandable. Two Russian goalies in New York, so yeah. But yeah, it's like I said, they're gonna have to. Sorokin's going to be on this game. The defense going to have to play very, very shut-down defense. They're going to have to play, like not even let him in the zone because we know that Hurricanes' offense has been very good. It's pretty much been the same for the past 3 years. It's not been much of a change. And so they've only gotten better in that time, except with the injuries, but, that happens. But if the Islanders play like this, I can see the series potentially going their way in their favor. And with our second game of the day, it was the Wild versus the Stars. And probably as you've seen just then, not a great result for the Wild. The Stars win this one 4-2, and they take a 3-2 series lead as well. The Wild just couldn't get their offense going. They got a few shots, they couldn't score. Ottinger stood on his head. 27 save shutout. But the main thing that the Wild have to do if they want to win this series is stop taking penalties. If they want a chance at all in Game 6, because they're very hurt as well, but that's no excuse. You got to stop taking penalties. I'm not sure exactly how many of the Stars' goals have been on the power play, but for one I know for certain is Tyler Seguin has gotten 4 power play goals in 5 games, which is very good. I mean, you can't let that happen. If 4 goals in 5 games on the power play, those 4 goals could have changed the whole course of a game if those didn't go in. I know there's some penalties that were against Marcus Foligno, not last game, the game before, 2 that probably shouldn't have been called. You got a 5-minute major in this game. I can see it. It didn't look like it. It was almost a hit, but the knee definitely did make contact first. There was no intentional knee in any means in that hit, but it was a penalty because the knee made contact. That's all you can do. It was really early in the game, 3 minutes in or something like that. So you just got to avoid taking those penalties. I mean, that's all you got to really do. Even though if you do that, next task is to beat Ottinger, which is no easy feat by any means. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, the Stars are making the Wild pay for those penalties, like you said. They're just flat out dominating them on the power play. I've seen a stat. I think it might have been today or yesterday, a couple days after the game, that Minnesota is the most penalized team in the playoffs. I think it is. Yeah. Now, mind you, some argument might be made for the refs being against them a little bit, but in order to compete, you got to stop taking penalties. It's not going to get you very far, especially with a team like Dallas. And I know their power play is extremely potent. Like guys like Ruud Behins, Jason Robertson, Tyler Seguin, who I think has 5 power play goals in 4 games. I'm not sure if that's the exact stat.
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Okay, they're just absolutely torching them on every chance they get on that power play. So you have to stop taking penalties if you want to compete.
Yeah, the last 2 or 3 years, it seems like the power play for the other team has been the killer for the Wild in the playoffs. They've been taking too many penalties. They just take way too many penalties. Dallas went 2 for 6 on the power play in this game, and they didn't even need to score on the power play. They had a 2-0. They would have been 2-0 anyway. So I mean, the play of Jake Ottinger has just been phenomenal. Tyler Seguin, maybe a little bit of a resurgence, and Dallas is doing everything they need to do. Like, they're winning the majority of the faceoffs at 56%. They're capitalizing on the power play, and they're playing great defense. Jake Ottinger is also great in net. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Wild can battle back in Game 6 here.
Yeah, Tyler Seguin's definitely making a case for a comeback. If people thought he was washed, he's definitely making an argument to be saying that he's not, definitely in this series. But with our third and final game that we had on April 25th was the Kings versus the Oilers. And this game, very, very good game. The Oilers won this one 6-3, and they take a 3-2 series lead on the Kings, who the Kings have seemed to kind of be pretty much taking advantage of the Oilers in this series. But like I said, it was a huge win for the Oilers. Draisaitl and Kane, they played great. They looked absolutely fantastic. It was a pretty high-scoring game, too, for the Oilers. I think there was only 5 players on Edmonton that didn't get a point. And I know that's don't mean anything in the playoffs. You just want to win. Nobody should really care about points. But you're getting the whole team involved. That's a very good thing for the Oilers. Getting the whole circuit moving, getting everybody working, because that's what you have to do for the Kings. The Kings have been playing great defense in this series, and they've been shutting down. And McDavid, except for a few times on the power play, he's had a few power play goals. But the Kings' defense was playing pretty well against the Oilers. But in this game, Korpisalo didn't really look great. I think he only had 70, he had less than 20 saves, I think. And then Phoenix Copley came in, but that game at that point was gone anyways. It was a loss. But the Oilers, very, very big win to take a 3-2 series lead against the Kings and hopefully move on to the next round, next game. So what do you guys think?
The Oilers needed this big time. It seems like the series should have already been over with the way they've been playing. But now they finally get a dominant win under their belt. It goes to show how good that they've rallied behind and they've competed every game. I'm pretty confident they're going to take this in 6. Next game they're going to take it in 6.
Yeah, I got to give the Kings credit, though. They have given the Oilers some problems, but I think in the first couple of games it was where the Oilers' depth wasn't really showing. They didn't play their best. I think we were talking about Zach Hyman. I mean, I remember you said, no, where's Zach Hyman been? Yeah. And Zach Hyman stepped up that game and scored the OT winner. And then last game he scored another goal. I mean, Nick Bjugstad had 2 goals last game, and Brett Kulak Brett Kulak as well. So I mean, it's the Oilers' depth is starting to show, and hopefully for them they'll close it out in 6. But for the Kings, I mean, they definitely have the tools to be able to force 7 here.
Yeah, especially like they have been shutting down the rest of the players in the series. They're gonna have to do that if they want a chance against McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, all those guys. So we'll see what happens. And that was all we had for the 25th. So we're gonna head on to April 26th for yesterday's games, and we're gonna start off with the Panthers versus the Bruins. In this one, the Panthers take a 4-3 in overtime. Very, very big win for them to keep the series alive. But the Bruins still do lead the series 3-2. Now, I'll be honest. Boston should have won this game. There's no way Florida should have won it. Boston had 47 shots on goal and a 62 faceoff percentage, which is, I mean, the telltale signs of dominating on offense. But Bobrovsky was the one that kept Florida in this game. He played absolutely fantastic. I mean, 45 saves, getting to overtime. Now, granted, overtime you could say Ullmark made a little mistake playing the puck there. Matthew Tkachuk come up and score. But still, a win's a win. You take what you can get. The Panthers take this one 4-3 and a chance to take the Game 6 and hopefully go to Game 7. But I wouldn't say nothing's really to worry about for Boston. If this game was to tell what the next game will be like, they dominated this game. They just couldn't put up the goals on Bobrovsky. If they do the same next game, Bobrovsky may let in a few more and take the win. So I don't think it's time to panic for Boston fans yet, but just something to keep an eye on. The series is still alive. So, what do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I want to touch on the goaltenders a little bit. Like you said, absolutely massive game from Bobrovsky. Like you said, 47 saves. He was just amazing in this one. And especially on that breakaway save with, I think it was less than 10 seconds left on Marchand.
Yeah.
So credit to Bobrovsky for keeping Florida in this. Another thing, a little bit of an out of character game for Ullmark, I thought. Like you said, playing the puck there, he could have done without doing that, but I think he had to be he got to be a little bit better. So now that's not to discredit the season Ullmark's had. He's by far the Vezina Trophy winner, but I think he's got to be a little bit better.
Yeah, you got to expect a little bit better from Linus Ullmark, especially after the regular season he's had, and the team that's playing in front of him played a perfect game, but he just made a mistake towards the end there. And like you guys said, what a performance from Bobrovsky. It's just phenomenal to see Sergei Bobrovsky come in and play like that, especially after the last few seasons he's been a little mediocre, if you will. But Matthew Tkachuk, absolute playoff player. He's a dog. Like, he always comes out and does what he needs to do every single night. He doesn't take a night off. Matthew Tkachuk, you know what you're going to get from Matthew Tkachuk. You can expect it every night. The 62% on faceoffs, it's not hard to tell Patrice Bergeron's back. I know that Boston was winning most of the faceoffs anyway in the game before we touched on, but it's Patrice Bergeron, such an integral piece to that team. Like, he's the captain. He scored that goal on a deflection from Marchand's shot. Another thing I'd like to touch on, Marchand with a goal in that game. He is 2 behind the lead for all-time playoff goals by Boston Bruins. So that's something also to keep an eye on as well.
That is a big stat. I didn't actually know he was that close, to be honest with you. It makes sense in Boston's recent success in the past few years, but still a very surprising stat. But just to touch on one more thing, like you said, Noah, Ullmark probably could have, instead of backhanding up the boards, he could have shot it around, just at least get it out of the zone instead of just putting it straight on the stick. So, yeah, no, I'm not saying I could do any better, but, just something to think of afterwards in the fact, because, you can't really think of that in the moment. But we're going to go on to our final game of the night here, which was the Kraken versus the Avalanche. And this one was a very, very big game for the Kraken. They take this one 3-2 to take a 3-2 series lead against the defending Stanley Cup champions. And like I said, they're on the ropes now. The Avalanche are. Makar didn't play in this one. He was suspended that one game for the hit on Jared McCann, but Jared McCann also didn't play in this one. But, if the Kraken take this one, this is pretty much what we expected. I had Avalanche taking the series 5-1. But I could have seen it going any other way as well, because we know, like we've said in pretty much every other recap we did on these games, both these teams are heavy on offensive skill. They've back and forth goals in games, is what we expected. But this game was also, no different. It was pretty back and forth in every category. Nobody dominated in one such category, but the Kraken just managed to take this one, which is a very, very big game because, one more game and they beat the Stanley Cup champions and then head on to round 2. So I did enjoy watching this game, to be honest with you, but I didn't really expect that the Avalanche would have this much difficulty, specifically with the Kraken's offense. But good game. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I can't be the only one that there's a little bit of part of me that wants to see the Kraken win. I don't know. It's just I love the atmosphere that they create and the identity of their team. But a great win for them. I thought they dominated in all aspects. They were the better team on the ice last night. And another, I think I said it in the last video or the video before. Shout out to Philip Grubauer. I thought he has been lights out all series. Everyone knows how players love to play against their former teams, but to play well against former teams in the playoffs and then win. Did they win a game in the Colorado? Is it the Ball Arena?
Yeah.
Yeah. To win in your former arena, that's so much cooler to see. So I got to give all the love to Philip Grubauer.
Yeah, Philip Grubauer definitely proved me wrong. I think all year I've been saying how bad he is, and he's played great against his former team. What I thought would be the difference in this series is not really making a difference because Colorado's star power just isn't showing, and the depth for Seattle really is. Seattle has been the better team in this series, no question, and they deserve every bit of what they're getting right now. That win, well deserved. That was Seattle played a phenomenal game, and I think this series is. I think a lot of people thought this was going to be over a lot quicker than what it is, and I thought a lot of people think that maybe Colorado was going to win the series. I had Colorado winning the series in 6, so I was wrong. I got to give credit to Seattle. I think we've come accustomed to in the last couple of years a team that wins the cup not going out very easily, and maybe they won't. Maybe Colorado won't go out very easy, but. With Tampa Bay and with Pittsburgh in the last in decade, usually the team that win the cup don't go out in the first round, and then we've become so accustomed to them being able to repeat the success the year after, whether it's winning the cup or at least winning a couple rounds. But maybe Colorado just is on too much of a cup hangover right now, because it definitely looks like it.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these series. And that's all we got for this video. That's all the last 2 days of the games. Tonight, we have a very, very big game between Toronto Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll be covering that one tomorrow. We'll be going over all of that, whatever happens in the rest of the games. But if you like the video, make sure to give it a like. And make sure to subscribe, like I said at the beginning of the video, because we're going to have a lot of stuff coming. Like, we're going to have the rest of the recaps, everything. It's going to be very exciting. So we hope you liked it. Like the video if you did. And thank you for watching.